Week 1 of the division or the wild card round of the playoffs is here, and it's finally here. As much as we love the regular season and love the games of the regular season, the playoffs are what a lot of people really look forward to.
It's what defines dynasties, great players. I mean, this is where heroes are made. Right here is in the playoffs.
We're going to talk about the Saturday games first. We're going to hit Cincinnati at Houston. What do you think Cincinnati needs to do to go into Houston to win this game?
Cincinnati needs to run the ball with the law firm. They need to dominate the line of scrimmage with their defensive line and not let Matt Schaub stand in the backfield and just throw the ball around. Cincinnati really needs to maintain possession. They need to maintain time of possession, slow the game down, and try to take the home crowd out of this.
If I'm Cincinnati, I am looking at tape from last week with the Colts beating up on them, because that's what 2 weeks that didn't the Colts win a couple weeks ago?
They lost.
They lost, but it was close.
But the Texans are really downtrending right now, and the Bengals are the opposite. They're really trending up.
Who do you think wins this game?
I'm going to go with the Bengals. I like to go with the hot team. I know the Houston Texans were kind of the fan favorite for the AFC to make it to the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year, but I really am going to take the hot team, and then I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Let's talk about another hot team. Minnesota's going into Green Bay to face another kind of going. Yeah, it's another kind of moving backwards instead of forwards. Green Bay team. As much as you backed into the playoffs, they could have locked up a number 2 overall seed in the NFC, but they ended up losing to Minnesota, and suddenly they're the 3 seed, and they have to face Minnesota.
Well, they're going to have to stop Adrian Peterson somehow this game. I mean, first and foremost, that's what you're going to have to do. Is you're going to have to stop AP somehow.
Tough to do when he runs 196 yards on you last week.
And now he's talking about playing special teams and returning kicks and punts, and I mean, that's one area that, as a head coach for the Vikings, I might not want to see Adrian Peterson do that. But as a head coach for the Green Bay Packers, I definitely don't want to see Adrian Peterson do that. If I can limit Adrian Peterson's touches by any means necessary, I want to do that as a head coach.
And let's be clear about this, too. Last week when Minnesota actually beat Green Bay, it's not like Rodgers had a bad game. He threw for 4 touchdowns. He continues to do his Rodgers work.
He just can't play defense.
He can't play defense. It's kind of... that Green Bay team is really starting to remind me of the Indianapolis Colts teams that Peyton Manning played on, where Peyton had to put up 40 points
to explosive offense
to beat
stop anybody.
because the defense couldn't stop him.
Yep.
Who do you have winning the game?
I'm going to go with Minnesota on this one. They beat him last week. I think they get him again. I think Adrian Peterson is just...
So you've got both lower seeds winning.
I do. I think Adrian Peterson is a complete beast, and I believe that Minnesota pulls this one out.
So you think the game plan is to hand it to AP and just...
Yep. I don't know why it wouldn't put Percy Harvin in the Wildcat a little bit and run him around. I say you try to get the ball in AP's hands as much as possible. If that means putting him back on kick returns and punt returns, I would definitely do that.
Another one of the hottest teams in the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts, facing off against Baltimore. In Baltimore. Granted, Baltimore is, like we talked about or the recap for Week 17, Baltimore's on its last leg, it seems like. Their defense is getting old. Ray Lewis will be back, and that will add an incredible... Well, that will add an incredible boost just having him on the field, because it's like in baseball, if you have a superstar in the lineup, you have to focus on where that superstar is, pretty much. With Ray Lewis, you have to make sure where he is, especially the quarterback at all times.
I think the key to this game is making sure Ray Lewis is up to snuff, and if Ray Lewis isn't up to par and isn't 100%, I would look at the Colts attacking the middle of the field with Andrew Luck and, whoever it may be, Reggie Wayne, Reggie Wayne down the seam or in the middle with Ray Lewis possibly not being 100%. I think they really attack him first and often just to see how he's going to be. And just let Andrew Luck, Vic Ballard, and Reggie Wayne do their thing, because they've been doing it for the past few weekends.
I mean, do you think... Here's my biggest thing is, do you think the Baltimore secondary can actually hang with Indy right now?
I think they can hang with Indy's wide receiver core just because Indy's wide receiver core isn't that good. But Andrew Luck puts the balls in situations that only his wide receivers can go up and get the ball. Yeah. And Andrew Luck, if you look at his pure stats, Andrew Luck has not really had that great of a year this year. Andrew Luck's had a very decent year.
He's like bottom 5 as far as completion percentage at 54%.
But if you look at his fourth quarter stats and his fourth quarter comebacks, yards, touchdown interception ratio, he is exquisite in the fourth quarter when the game is on the line. And I think that's what this game is going to come down to is the last minute fourth quarter drive.
Who you got?
Yeah, the Colts.
Wow, so you're taking all bottom seats lately.
I am. Yep.
Moving on to that Seattle game. Seattle at Washington. Another game that the Redskins kind of backed into. They had to win out against your Cowboys to actually get to that number 4 seed. Seattle is one of the hottest teams at home. They're one of, I think, only
I
one
believe
or
they're 7-0 at home this year.
8-0.
8-0.
Because they won last week.
That's right.
So I think they're the only team in the NFL that actually went 8-0 at home. But they're a completely different team. They're 3-5 on the road. So what do you think that Seattle needs to do to go into Washington to beat RG3?
Seattle has to figure out a way to stop that rushing game. Washington's the number 1 rushing attack in the NFL, averaging 138 yards per game. Alfred Morris and RG3 running that option is just, I mean, they displayed it so well against the Dallas Cowboys. They'd run 3 or 4 options in a row, then a quick slant. 3 or 4 options in a row, then a quick slant. And they just do such a terrific job at executing. It's almost impossible to stop that offense.
Yeah, I completely agree. On the flip side, I think Seattle's offense, Russell Wilson, can actually pick apart their middle between their linebackers and their secondary.
That soft spot.
I really do think that's where they're going to
is
play.
Most accurate is 10 plus yards down the field, and that's exactly what that soft spot you're speaking of. In between the safeties and the linebackers, about 10 yards down the field, and that's exactly where Russell Wilson does most of his best work.
Who you got in the game?
I'm going to go with the Redskins on this one.
So you're going to take the higher seed in this game?
I am.
Is it a little bit the fact that Skins beat you and you're like, okay, you're a believer now?
They did. It still stings a little bit, but that rushing attack is so deadly, and I honestly just don't know where the offense is going to come from Seattle. I think Russell Wilson is a good quarterback. He's a rookie, so he still has a lot of learning to do. Marshawn Lynch is a terrific running back. But I just don't believe that Seattle is going to have enough snuff to be able to stop the option attack of RG3 and Alfred Morris.
All right. Well, that's it for our wild card round predictions. Tune in next week when we'll move on to the divisional round predictions, and we'll also touch on we'll also touch on the wild card and what happened in wild card weekend. For Bryce, I'm Billy. Have a good week, guys.